Murder at Hotel No. 13. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday morning, crisp and formal, embossed with the insignia of Hotel No. 13. Detective Miles Corbin, a man whose reputation preceded him like a shadow, raised a skeptical eyebrow. A murder at Hotel No. 13? Sounds like a plot straight out of a dime novel, he muttered, but the intrigue was undeniable. Hotel No. 13 was notorious, not for ghostly apparitions or scandalous affairs, but for its peculiar architecture and the string of unsolved mysteries that clung to it like cobwebs. Built in the late 19th century, it boasted a labyrinthine layout, with rooms numbered in a seemingly random order and corridors that twisted and turned without reason. Corbin arrived at the hotel just as dusk began to paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. The hotel loomed before him, a Gothic monstrosity with gargoyles perched on its roof, their stone faces frozen in silent screams. The lobby was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of old money and unspoken secrets. He was greeted by Mr. Abernathy, the hotel manager, a man whose face was a roadmap of wrinkles and worry lines. "Detective Corbin, thank heavens you're here. A guest was found dead this morning. Room 7, 3rd floor." Corbin followed Abernathy up the grand staircase, each step creaking under their weight. The 3rd floor was eerily quiet, the silence broken only by the distant hum of the city. Abernathy led him to room 7, a suite overlooking the hotel's desolate courtyard. The victim was a Mr. Edgar Blackwood, a wealthy industrialist with a penchant for the finer things in life. He lay sprawled on the Persian rug, a single gunshot wound marring his chest. The room was opulent, filled with antique furniture and valuable artwork, but the scene was far from chaotic. It was too neat, too staged, no signs of forced entry, Abernathy said, his voice trembling. The door was locked from the inside. Corbin surveyed the room, his eyes scanning every detail. The window was closed and latched, the curtains drawn. A half-empty glass of whiskey sat on the bedside table, next to a book of poetry. On the floor, near the victim's hand, lay a single playing card. "The Queen of Spades. Who found the body?" Corbin asked. "She came to clean the room this morning and found the door locked. She used her master key to enter. Maid, Mrs. Gable." Corbin interviewed Mrs. Gable, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a nervous demeanor. She claimed she hadn't touched anything in the room, but Corbin sensed she was withholding something. "Did you notice anything unusual, Mrs. Gable? Anything at all?" She hesitated, then whispered, "The card, sir. The Queen of Spades. It wasn't there yesterday." Corbin returned to the room and examined the card more closely. It was clean, unmarked, and seemed out of place amidst the otherwise carefully arranged scene. Pocketed the card, a hunch forming in his mind. Over the next few days, Corbin immersed himself in the investigation. He interviewed the hotel staff, the other guests, and anyone who might have had a connection to Mr. Blackwood. He learned that Blackwood was a man of many enemies, a ruthless businessman who had made a fortune by crushing his competitors. One name kept surfacing: Victor Sinclair, a former business partner of Blackwood's, who had been driven to bankruptcy by his cutthroat tactics. Sinclair was staying at the hotel in room 13, directly above Blackwood's suite. Corbin paid Sinclair a visit. The man was charming and articulate, but Corbin detected a glint of malice in his eyes. Sinclair denied any involvement in Blackwood's death, claiming he had been out for a walk at the time of the murder. "I had no reason to kill Edgar," Sinclair said, his voice smooth as silk. "His death is a tragedy, but I had nothing to do with it." Corbin didn't believe him. He searched Sinclair's room, but found nothing incriminating. However, he noticed a deck of cards on the table, the Queen of Spades missing. Corbin returned to room 7, determined to find the missing piece of the puzzle. He examined the room again, this time with a magnifying glass. He noticed a faint scratch on the window latch, almost invisible to the naked eye. He also found a tiny fragment of glass on the rug near the window. It was clear, almost like it didn't belong. It was a piece of a shattered mirror. Suddenly, it all clicked into place. The locked room, the Queen of Spades, the scratch on the latch, the fragment of glass. It was an elaborate ruse, designed to mislead the police. Corbin realized that the murderer had entered the room through the window, using a glass cutter to create a small opening. They had then reached inside and unlocked the latch. After committing the murder, they had locked the window from the inside, leaving the Queen of Spades as a taunting clue. But why the Queen of Spades? Corbin remembered that Blackwood was a notorious gambler, and the Queen of Spades was often associated with bad luck or death. It was a personal message, a twisted form of revenge. Corbin gathered all the suspects in the hotel lobby: Abernathy, Mrs. Gable, Sinclair, and a few other guests who had aroused his suspicion. He stood before them, his eyes narrowed, his voice sharp and commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen, I know who killed Edgar Blackwood," he announced. "It was not a random act of violence, but a carefully planned execution. The murderer is among us, and I am about to reveal their identity." He paused for effect, letting the tension build. "The murderer is... Mrs. Gable." A gasp rippled through the room. Mrs. Gable looked pale and frightened, but Corbin pressed on. "You claimed you didn't touch anything in the room, Mrs. Gable, but that was a lie. You knew about the Queen of Spades because you placed it there yourself. You had a motive, a connection to Blackwood that you tried to hide." Corbin revealed that Mrs. Gable's late husband had worked for Blackwood, but had been unfairly dismissed after an accident. He died soon after, leaving Mrs. Gable destitute. She had sought revenge, using her position as a maid to gain access to Blackwood's room. But how did she get in if the door was locked? Sinclair asked, his voice laced with disbelief. Corbin explained about the window, the glass cutter, and the scratch on the latch. He produced the fragment of glass he had found on the rug, proving that the window had been tampered with. Mrs. Gable finally broke down, confessing to the murder. She had planned it for months, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. She had used her knowledge of the hotel to her advantage, knowing that the police would focus on the locked room and the Queen of Spades. As the police led Mrs. Gable away, Corbin felt a sense of satisfaction. He had solved another mystery, brought justice to a victim, and restored order to a chaotic world. Abernathy approached him, his face etched with gratitude. "Detective Corbin, I don't know how to thank you. You've saved Hotel No. 13 from ruin." Corbin smiled. "Just doing my job, Mr. Abernathy. Just doing my job." He left the hotel as the first rays of dawn painted the sky. Hotel No. 13 stood behind him, its gargoyles silent witnesses to the night's events. Corbin knew that the hotel would continue to attract its share of mysteries, but for now at least, peace had been restored. As he walked away, he glanced at the Queen of Spades in his pocket, a reminder of the dark secrets that lurked beneath the surface of human existence. He knew that his work was far from over, that there would always be another murder, another mystery, another invitation to a world of shadows and deceit.